This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you, you set your own terms. Welcome in. We are live here on this Wednesday. Appreciate you guys joining me here on A to Z and making Locked On Sports Atlanta part of your everyday sports listen. Give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On ATL. Of course, you can always follow me at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Want to get to the Braves' upcoming schedule after the All-Star break. Some things I think of note to see where this team may be when it comes to the trade deadline as well. One more notable name departs for LIV Golf. We'll do that. But I want to start with more of college football from SEC Media Days and beyond. This segment brought to you by our good friends at betonline.net. So what came out of SEC Media Days? Is it still going on today? And Georgia will take the podium, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of reaction to that tomorrow. But as conference realignment continues to be the talk about everything that is going on in college football, you know, there is still one thing that we are forgetting. Or I don't mean it's not forgetting, but there is one point that we're continually not addressing enough as the elephant in the room, really, and that's where does Notre Dame end up in all of this? And, you know, many people always thought that the Big Ten was the traditional fit for Notre Dame. Many people thought that that's where it would end up given its geographic region to a lot of the other Big Ten teams. Now, the Big Ten all of a sudden has 16 teams in the conference. Do they want to go to 17? Is it fathomable that they could do it? No, I suppose it's not unfathomable that they could do it, but I do think it just, they'd have to ideally want to find an 18th partner. Ideally, you would want to see if, there's a chance that you can make it so that you would go with a 9-1, right? You'd have a 8-game conference schedule and a one game a year rival game, whatever it may be, and that works out when you have 9 other opponents. And if you can get to 20 teams, you have 9 other opponents in your division. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat, so to speak. But I only bring all that up to say the hard part is getting Notre Dame to actually come into your conference. And the stakes just got a little bit higher to do so. Now, we know for years the hang-up for Notre Dame in reference to them joining a conference has been their television deal with NBC. And I, for years, have supported Notre Dame in the idea that, guess what? You guys can do whatever you want if you're Notre Dame. You don't want to give up that TV contract, you're not forced to give it up. You're not the one who has to play ball with the conferences. The conferences have to play ball with you. You got a deal first. You got to the table first. You were the one who set the bar for your own television deal, and everybody else realized they couldn't follow suit because they didn't have the following Notre Dame does. So I've always supported Notre Dame in them keeping their own rights deal because I think that it's fair, and they bartered it on their own, and good for them. But they are now at least coming to the table with some sort of negotiating terms. I'll tell you what they are in just a second. But first, a word from our friends at betonline.net, your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports development, league reviews, and news, including this year's Major League Baseball and upcoming playoff race. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports words podcast news this season. BetOnline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, back to Notre Dame. So Notre Dame basically has now put a number out on the table. Okay, they are saying that they are targeting $75 million in an annual media rights payout if they want to join a conference, right? Notre Dame right now, and this is according to Dennis Dodd of CBS, Notre Dame right now averages $15 million per year, their TV deal, but is earning $22 million annually due to the backloaded nature of the contract. So they're essentially asking, if I'm reading this correctly, 3 times that amount in a buyout for them to join a conference. Which Power 5 is going to do that? None. They've made it so exorbitant. They've made it so outlandish that literally they will not find a partner to do this deal with. It's that simple. Like they're just not going. Nobody's going to come to the table with that kind of buyout of the media deal. The only way to get Notre Dame to a conference is to literally squeeze them out. Like if you're another Power 5 school, the Power 5 schools have to collude and get together to never play them. Period. That's how they get them out. Because guess what happens? When Notre Dame ends up playing Ball State, Western Michigan, Rice, Central Florida, pick another team, San Diego State, and that's their schedule for 12 games. And sure, they'll go 12-0. But if they lose a game, 1, they're going to be considered out. And 2, if they're playing all those weak teams, nobody's going to want to watch them. That's how you get them out of that deal. It's the only way to get them out of that deal. It's the only way to get them to come down from the number. The powerful, all that Stanford, USC, all these schools that traditionally play Notre Dame would essentially have to collude together and say, well, we're not scheduling. Period. Sorry, our deal ends here. And for all those deals that have already been re-signed about how often they're playing, they're probably 4 or 5 years away. So Notre Dame can sit pretty for another 4 or 5 years to decide what they want to do. But, again, that's kind of the way it looks like this is going to go down for Notre Dame. Unless somebody wants to pay them an exorbitant rights deal, then they're going to stay independent. Now, does this mean a little bit that Notre Dame may at least be open for some negotiations? Like, could you come in at $50 million and say, look, you're still making double your money? We'll pay you $50 million a year, not 75. It could be. It could mean that they're open for business, but I just don't know what that really looks like. And if Notre Dame is really willing to negotiate, then that's a whole different conversation. Maybe if that's just a starting off point for negotiations, then maybe you have something. But still, it's a pretty tall order for them to even come down to something reasonable that schools could assume. Because remember, a lot of these schools, the SEC, they all have to chip into their SEC network, their media deal, along with ESPN. The same thing. Fox is about to pay $1 billion, or Fox is about to get $1 billion from the Big Ten for their television rights. So, again, lots of big numbers rolling around out there, and not necessarily companies and businesses and schools that want to spend more. All right, coming up next, the Braves' schedule post All-Star break is interesting. And what will it look like leading them up to the trade deadline? And would that tell how aggressive Alex Anthopoulos is going to be? That's next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast search. Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. You search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Subscribe and like our YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys supporting us. We've grown so quick. We're already over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. We appreciate you guys giving that thumbs up and watching all the shows and every show here on the network and being part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. This is A to Z. Of course, you have Hitting Hard with John Chuckery, ATL Day Ones with Jarvis Davis and Tanisha Batiste, Locked On Falcons, Locked On Hawks, and our Braves postcast returns starting on Friday night once baseball in the second half resumes. We'll get to that in a second. This segment brought to you by our good friends at BlueNile.com. So the Braves will take on the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim starting on Friday, a weekend series here at Truist, and then they head out on the road. And it's a weird setup here in the second half because they got 3 games at home, 3 games on the road, and then they come back home for 5 games, and then they head back out on the road. So, it's pretty insane right now what they have coming up. But let's just kind of look at things leading up to the trade deadline. So you get 3 games against the Angels here, right? And the Braves will only play 1 team above 500 prior to the trade deadline, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies. 3 games against the Angels, a struggling team that's in second to last in the AL West. And if Oakland hadn't been one of the worst teams in the league, they probably would be last in the ALS. And despite all the big names, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, everybody else that's on that roster, they just can't seem to put it all together and be a very good baseball team. So they get 3 in a row against the Angels. And then they get 3 games in Philadelphia. And they're going to see a lot of Philadelphia and the Mets in the second half because they played most of the Marlins and the Nats in the first half. So 3 against LA, 3 against Philadelphia, and then they come back home for 3 against Arizona, which is another below 500 team. And that gets us to the end of July. And with the trade deadline being August 2nd this year, they'll come back home. They'll stay home for 2 games against Philadelphia. And that's really what it is. Look, for whatever reason, if the Braves struggle against the Angels and the Phillies, and then they turn the page to Arizona and they don't win there may be a sense from Alex Anthopoulos that they need to sort of, they need to sort of maybe, I don't want to say push a panic button, but maybe they may start to think that things are a bigger need than what they are. I have been repeatedly telling you about Alex Anthopoulos' aggressiveness and where he needs to be when it comes to the trade deadline and what it's like to go out and try and win another World Series again and the players that make a difference. So I am 100% on board with Alex Anthopoulos doing something at the trade deadline and not just standing pat, because it's really tough to win the Super Bowl, the World Series 2 years in a row without extra help. And I go back and I say repeatedly, the 1998 Yankees were one of the greatest baseball teams ever assembled. They won the World Series, and all they did that offseason was trade their best pitcher from 98 and David Wells and upgrade to Roger Clemens, who had won back-to-back Cy Youngs in 99. I mean, I say that because that's what it takes sometimes to be able to go out and win back-to-back World Series. You're constantly upgrading. You're never staying in one spot. You're never looking at it and going, we're good. So what does that leaves the Braves left to do? We'll tell you that in a moment, but first a word from our friends at BlueNile.com. Whether you're ready to pop the big question or you're just celebrating that milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple tools that will help you with that engagement ring. You get to choose the diamond shape, the size, the clarity, as well as the setting style. And then Blue Nile's bench jewelers will handcraft the perfect engagement ring and setting for her. Each ring is going to be one of a kind because you help make it. If you're looking for that milestone piece of jewelry, just a way to say, I love you. If you're looking for fine jewelry, you have trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7. Available via phone or chat to help you find memorable gifts for every budget out there. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement rings. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured. It ships free, arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, so where are the Braves going to look here in the second half at the trade deadline? You have to believe that there are more bullpen arms coming. You really, really do. And you have to believe that they will start to closely examine the starting pitching. I mean, here's the thing. Objectively, where you are right now with the Atlanta Braves and their starting pitching, you have big time question marks from Charlie Morton and Ian Anderson. They just haven't, in my opinion, been as good as you need them to be. How can you deny what Spencer Strider has done to this point as far as his viability to stay in the rotation through the entire year and the postseason? I don't. I told him, Max Fried, Kyle Wright, Spencer Strider, despite what you saw in his last start, are where I'm going to go. And I get that, Morton is the wily veteran, and he's the guy who makes big playoff starts for you, and you don't win the World Series without him. Ian Anderson has been good in the postseason previously, but none of that matters when it comes to this postseason. Now, I'm not saying Ian Anderson can't be good again in this postseason, but how much do you want to start him in a spot where, you're down in an 0-2 hole and need a win, or it's a 1-1 swing game that you absolutely must win, especially if the Braves are a lower seed, and getting back to home field. So, I mean, it's hard to figure out 100%. What the rest of this rotation is going to look like. But you're going to see each of these guys probably twice before the trade deadline as it gets closer. So you'll get a chance to see over the first 10 games who still has the A-plus stuff that you're looking for to really decide down the stretch, because After the seconds that you're done adding for the postseason, nobody can be added to the postseason roster after the trade deadline. You can add players, but you can't add anybody that would go on the postseason roster going forward. So, it is it's very much a situation that is going to be closely watched by the Braves front office. I have a hard time believing that the draft pick that they traded for and Robinson Cano is all that Alex Anthopoulos is going to do the rest of the way to improve this team and make it better. So there are a lot of challenges still to be had. Remember, they don't necessarily have to catch the Mets, but that's still a big deal. And if the Mets get DeGrom back, it makes it much harder for the Braves to catch them. This is not going to be an easy road. It never is. And winning in the postseason is completely different than winning in the regular season. The Braves coming back and catching the Mets for the division and winning a World Series are two entirely different set of circumstances with two entirely different outcomes. All right, coming up next, we've had one more defect the PGA Tour in favor of LIV Golf. We'll tell you who it is and what it means for golf. I love this stuff. That's next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Of course, follow our entire network at Locked On ATL and all the great shows here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. We appreciate you guys giving us all the love and support out there and growing this Locked On Sports Atlanta community. Keep at it. We certainly appreciate it. All right, before we get to LIV Golf, time to hand out some shovels of wisdom.
Brace yourselves, because it's time for the Shovel of Wisdom.
Yeah, you know how we do it every day. We like to whack somebody straight upside the head with a shovel, a metaphorical shovel, if you will, to set them straight. And you can do so as well on my Twitter page at Mark Zinno. Of course, use the hashtag Shovel of Wisdom. And today my shovel goes to a fan on the red carpet at the All-Star game. Yeah, I don't like to give out unnamed shovels, but we don't know the name yet of this individual because I'm sure it's going to come out at some point in time because, well, the internet is undefeated from that standpoint. But there was a fan on the red carpet there who was trying to get an autograph as Justin Verlander was walking through. And Bleacher Report posted a video of the red carpet interaction. And there was a fan there sporting a Padres hat, leaning forward with a baseball to try and get an autograph. Now, that's not normally an issue. It is an issue when you're squishing a 7-year-old to do so and you're leaning forward on other kids to be able to do so. Yeah, don't be that guy. Like, if you're a grown adult, one, I still don't understand why you lust after another grown man's signature. Unless it's at the bottom of a check, there's no reason I want another grown man's signature for me. I just don't need it. It's not my cup of tea. Knock yourself out if it is. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying when you want an autograph in a public forum like that, let the kids go first, okay? Like, this is generally one of the most accepted rules in life, right? Like, don't knock old people down when crossing the street, don't litter. Like, don't lean on a 6-year-old kid to go get an autograph. Like, these are generalities that everybody assumes that if you do the opposite of, you're pretty much an a-hole. And that's what this guy is. And like I said, I am sure that this guy's name will come out at some point in time. And if it hasn't already, I'm sure his bosses are looking lovely at this video of you going, what the hell is wrong with you, bro? Like, honestly. Leaning on kids for an autograph. I just don't understand it. And if you're an adult and you want an autograph that badly, here's a novel concept. Pay for it. Like, go online and buy it. Go to a card show or one of these memorabilia collectors and dealers and buy it with a certificate of authenticity. Like, that's one way to get these things that doesn't make you seem like a complete moron. It's literally like crazy the lengths that certain grown adults, and I see it every year at training camp when you go to the Falcons. I mean, it is just insane. What is wrong with you people? It's another grown man's signature. I get it has value. I'm not saying that you shouldn't want things that have value. But for the minimal amount of value that a Justin Verlander signature will get you, maybe $100, $200, even $500, it's not life-changing generational wealth. This isn't a Babe Ruth original jersey from 1927 that has value of, $250,000. Even that's not really life-changing money. Neither here nor there. That's not the point. Chill out, man. Honestly. Okay. Before we get to LIV Golf, a quick word from our friends at Coffee AM. Guys, you hear me tell you about them every single day. Why? Because it's some of the best coffee I've ever had. It smells great. It tastes fantastic. And it is the exact way you want to start your day. Why? Because Coffee AM is an Atlanta-based small batch coffee roaster that ships their coffee the same day it roasted or very close to it. So you know that it's absolutely fresh. Tastes amazing. When I got the box in my house, opened it up, the smell just hit me in the face like a ton of bricks, but it was a good ton of bricks. They have a huge selection. It's all quality stuff, specialty grade coffee from all over the world. Organic, fair trade, direct trade, expertly crafted blends, espressos, flavored coffees, teas, and a whole lot more. And they're roasted right here in our backyard in Georgia. Go to coffeeam.com/locked-on today and take a full look at their menu of coffees, teas, and gift sets. That's coffeeam.com/locked-on. Use the coupon code locked-on at checkout. You get 15% off your first order of coffees, teas, and gift sets. Coffee AM, the best small batch coffee roaster in America, and it's right here in Georgia. Okay, now, shall we get to the more laughable news about LIV Golf? Sweden's Henrik Stenson is now out as the European captain of the 2023 Ryder Cup in Rome. Why? Sources confirmed he's preparing to join LIV Golf. Good for you, Stetson. I'm proud of you. Ryder Cup people, you suck. Like this, again, what is the big deal? Here's the statement from the Ryder Cup, European Ryder Cup, what do you call it? European Ryder Cup organization team. Quote, in light of decisions made by Henrik in relation to his personal circumstances, it's become clear that he would not be able to fulfill certain contractual obligations to Ryder Cup Europe that he had committed to prior to his announcement as captain on Tuesday, March 15th, 2022, and it is therefore not possible for him to continue the role of captain. Really? He can't captain a team because he's going to go play a 54-hole event in Portland? Really? Is that's what it is? Okay, just checking. Again, all these organizations have it exactly backwards. Instead of punishing your golfers, instead of ostracizing your golfers, you should be looking to LIV Golf to help you. You should be looking to LIV Golf to up the ante on the Ryder Cup. Make it for more money. Get a hell. Do a Ryder Cup team, a three-way matchup. America, Europe, and LIV golfers. Like, that's the easy win for everybody. I can't, you know what this is, honestly, and this is the first time one of the first few times in my life, I don't know if it's the first because I have this stance on umpires, but it's the first time in my life where I kind of really hate old white guys. Because that's all this is. This is old people not wanting to change their ways. It's our way or the highway. We made this up. You have to follow our rules, and there's absolutely no discussion of anything else. Don't do that. Just don't. Like, be open to other ideas. Be open to change. Everything changes. And things change now faster than ever before. Is that always a good thing? No. But for crying out loud, what is the big deal if Henrik Stenson joins LIV Golf? Why does that make him incapable of being a captain? What contractual obligations does he have that him playing in a LIV Golf tournament event later this year after the Ryder Cup? Well, before the Ryder Cup in 2023, what does it matter? What does it matter? I don't understand. You're going to have to help me out here and make this make sense to me, because it doesn't. Like, it's another reason why golf will continue to struggle to gain the ratings and everything else it should. I suppose you could argue all this talk about golf is good for sport, but nonetheless, it's certainly not making me like the PGA Tour more. All right, that'll do it for us today here on A to Z. Back tomorrow with another show. You guys have a great day. Don't take it crap from anybody. See ya.